What's up guys, welcome to another episode of GetPsyched, and today we're going to be looking at a really famous theory in psychology, Maslow's Hierarchy of Needs. In 1943, Maslow wrote a paper called The Theory of Human Motivation, and in it he proposed the theory of the hierarchy of needs. With the hierarchy of needs, Maslow fundamentally proposed a theory that established what people needed in order to establish true happiness and experience their full potential. I put up a diagram here that helps understand the hierarchy of needs that Maslow theorized, and in his paper he used a pyramid just like this to help people understand the hierarchy of needs better. Maslow stated that the bottom 4 layers here are something called deficiency needs. These involve physiological and safety needs, love and belonging needs, and self-esteem needs. Maslow argued that in order to move up the levels of the pyramid, one had to meet the layer below it first. Now let's look at these layers of the pyramid into a little bit more detail. The very bottom layer here is physiological needs. Now these are deemed as the most basic and fundamental needs of humankind. And if these needs are not met first, then no further development of happiness or experiencing of full potential can take place. Sustenance, water, and air are all examples of fundamental physiological needs. The next layer encompasses safety needs. Now this is to do with personal safety, and these needs manifest themselves in different ways. They could take the form of job security or having insurance and saving policies, for example. Now personal, health, and financial needs immediately come to mind when we think of safety needs. The next layer here is love and social belonging. Now obviously this has a lot to do with love, but it also has a lot to do with inclusion as well. It's often the case, and Maslow argued this as well, that this layer can seem to be the most important out of all of them. Maslow argued that this is especially the case in childhood. Dependent on the traumatic experiences felt in childhood by many, as those children develop into adulthood, they can seek out this layer in particular. The need for love, inclusion, and belonging can come first before any other need is met. As Maslow argued himself, every layer needs to be met first before moving on to the next. What can often happen is that people seek out love and inclusion before they take into consideration physiological and safety needs. Forms of love and inclusion obviously stem from family and friends and relationships, and according to Maslow, there was a need for people to feel connected to something bigger than themselves, to be attached to something with a larger social context. Now, esteem is the next level that Maslow said people need to meet, and this is where people value the notion that they are respected by others. Now, a lack of self-esteem can be really detrimental to people, Maslow argued. He was also forward-thinking enough to understand that people could try and gain self-esteem or esteem from unreliable sources. If those needs weren't met, Maslow argued that people often would go off and seek fame. Today we can understand that a little bit better, and we can also understand the impact of social media and how these meet our self-esteem needs. Now, Maslow argued that there were 2 levels to our esteem needs. First is called lower level, and this is the desire to gain respect from others. The second part is higher level esteem, and this encompasses self-respect. Freedom, independence are all examples of this. Maslow argued that when esteem needs are not met, then inferiority complexes can come into the mix. Now, self-actualization is the final and top part of the pyramid of the hierarchy of needs. This infers a person's full potential and their appreciation of that full potential. He argued that for everyone, in realizing a dream or a goal, that realization is made and achieved in this realm of self-actualization. As I've already alluded to, people can get the order of the hierarchy of needs mixed up. Maslow stated that people would often seek out self-actualization first before trying to meet any of the other more basic needs. Reiterate that, Maslow said that we needed to work up the pyramid of the hierarchy of needs before we reach the top. Now, like all theories in psychology, there is of course criticism, and wide criticism, to the hierarchy of needs from Maslow in 1943. One of the main criticisms of the hierarchy of needs is that it does establish that everybody is the same. It gives a very rigid format to establishing how people reach their goals and understand their full potential. It's also been criticised for being too widely based on Western ideology. In addition to this, it doesn't establish cultural needs and expectations. It also doesn't really appreciate the understanding of collective societies, where deeper levels of happiness can be attributed from connection with communities and larger groups. Basically, and in short term, the hierarchy of needs is very individualized and self-orientated. Guys, thanks so much for watching this episode of GetPsyched. This week we've been looking at the hierarchy of needs by Maslow in 1943. Thanks again for tuning in, and make sure to stay tuned next week.